Hey everyone, it is Misty and welcome to At Home. Today we're going to make this beautiful Kite Festival quilt. I used some beautiful flannel fabrics, but you can make it with absolutely anything. Just grab your favorite pack of 10-inch squares and I'll show you how. All right, to make this beautiful quilt, you are going to need one package of 10-inch squares, and I use this beautiful Fleur flannel by Maywood Studios. It's absolutely gorgeous and just so soft and cozy. You're also going to need some background fabric. I used flannel there as well, so you'll need 2 7/8 yards, or just about 3 yards, whatever you want to do to make it easy. The other option is you could use a package of 10-inch squares if it's available in your background, but it wasn't in this case for me. So in addition to that, you'll need 4 yards of your backing with a horizontal seam or 2 yards of 108 and just about 2/3 of a yard for your binding. So let me show you how to make this. So this quilt is made up of 3 simple blocks. The first is our half rectangle triangles, and then we have 2 different blocks that are made up of half square triangles, this kind of pinwheel and broken dishes block. So up first, let's dive into those half square triangles. And so I have just paired up a 10-inch print square with a 10-inch background. And so we are going to line those up. And the thing that's so nice about working with flannel is those fibers just kind of hold together, and I feel like the fabric doesn't shift as much. I really enjoy it. And so now I'm going to grab a pin and my ruler here, and we are just going to draw a line diagonally in both directions. I like to start in the middle so I don't have quite so much drag. Makes it a little bit more accurate. And so same thing this way. Okay. And so then now I'm just going to take this to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam on both sides of those drawn lines. So let's go ahead and do that. Just sew all the way off, pivot around, and we'll come back down the other side here, and then I'll do the same thing in the other direction. Got a thread looped. There we go. Okay, and once more here. All right, so now you can see here I've drawn and sewn both of those lines, and so we're going to use our 5 by 15-inch ruler, and we are going to begin by cutting this in half horizontally and vertically. So there's that first cut, and I love that I can just use the width of this ruler. I don't have to worry about it. And then once I've made those cuts, now I can pull them apart and I can cut on that drawn line diagonally. So we will just cut each of these apart. And that's going to give us 8 half square triangles, which is enough for 2 blocks. There we go. All right, so once I have them all cut apart like that, I'm going to use my Clearly Perfect slotted trimmer A, and I am looking for the 4.5 inch mark. And so if you've never used this trimmer before, you are going to line up your stitch line with the dashed line of the measurement you need. So I'll just make sure those are all lined up, and then I can trim away my little bit of excess here and here. There we go. And you will just square up all of your half square triangles and then press those to the dark side. And then you'll have a beautiful 4.5 inch half square triangle. I have a bunch more that I've gone ahead and squared up. And so now let's talk about laying out these 2 blocks. So remember, we have one that is a simple pinwheel and one that is this broken dishes. So we'll begin with the pinwheel, and that one's pretty easy. You want to go light, dark, and always alternate those seams, just like so. And so then we can fold this over and sew it like a 4 patch. Since I just have that one center seam, I'm just going to open this up right here at the sewing machine, make sure it's still all going the right direction, which it is, and then I'll fold that over, and I will just make my seams nest in the middle before I press it at the pressing mat. So let's go ahead and make sure our edges are lined up there. And our first little block will be all put together. So now I'm just making sure those seams are going in opposite directions. And then I can stitch all the way down the side. Okay, so here is our cute little pinwheel block. Let's go ahead and give that a press. I just love how soft and cozy this flannel is, and it's honestly so easy to work with. So there we go, there is our pinwheel. You do want to be mindful when you're working on these that you make all of your pinwheels in the same way, because it's easy to just flip and have your dark here and your light there, and then that would be a problem. So just pay attention to that when you're working on your blocks. And so then now we're going to do our broken dishes block. And so same idea here. We're going to do one with our print in and one with our print out, and then just do the opposites here. There we go. And so in that same way, I'm going to stitch this together, and I'll meet you back here when it's done. All right, so now our cute little broken dishes block is all stitched together. We can go ahead and give that a press as well. I always like to just press from the top, make sure everything is laying nice and flat and we don't have any little tucks in there. Beautiful, it looks great. All right, and so now we can set these aside and we're going to move on to making our little half rectangle triangles. So in order to do that, we are going to grab another set of our print and 10-inch squares, and I'm just going to give these a press because they're a little rumpled. There we go. And I'm going to bring these over here. I'm going to make sure they're lined up very straight. There we go. Beautiful. And so now I'm going to use my ruler again, and I'm going to begin by cutting it in half. There we go. And then I'll separate these apart. And then I'm going to cut these on the diagonal, and when I'm looking at it, the one on my left side, I'm going to cut this direction, and the one on the right, I'm going to cut this direction. And I'm going to do that for all of my blocks that I need to make this way, just like so. And so now I'm going to have all of the pieces I need to make this block. So I've got a print here, and a print here, and then this will be able to flip around and make a second block. You see how those match on that side. And so then for this one, I need my background on the top and my print on the bottom. And again, this gives me enough to make 2 blocks like this, but we're just going to stitch one. And so we're going to begin, and we're going to lay these right sides together. And I'm going to make sure I have about a 1/4 inch overhang on both the top and the bottom. We are going to square these up, so you don't have to worry too much, but this just makes it a little bit easier. So I have both of these ready, and I'm going to take them over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch right down this long side on both of them. Take your time, make sure everything is staying lined up as best as you can. And then now I'll just follow right behind with my other half. This one's shifted on me a little bit more. There we go. You do want to be careful when you're sewing on that long edge because it has a little bit of bias going on there. So don't be tugging or anything too crazy while you're stitching it. Just let the machine do the work. And so now we're going to set this seam and roll it back to the dark side. There is our first one, and the same with this one here. All right, and now we're just going to square these up, and so the size we're looking for is 4.5 by 9. And this can be a little bit tricky since our ruler is wider than that. And so what I'm looking for is I have my corner here right on the seam line, and then my quarter down here right on the seam line, and this is 4.5 over. And so I know this angle here is going right into the corners. And so this little bit of overhang that I have, which is not much, you can see, I'm going to trim off. So there's that and that. And so then now I'll flip this around and I can line this side exactly up with my 4.5. And my height is already at 9. Just make sure I stay nice and straight. I do have a little bit to shave off there. And there we go. And so that's how we square that up. Let's do the same thing one more time here with the other half. So I'm coming over. I've got my 9-inch here on this edge, my 4.5 on this side. I'm going to hold that in place and trim. There we go. Now we can flip that around. Keep this right on the 4.5 this way and 9 inches this way. And that will give me the rest I need to trim down. Beautiful. All right. And so now we can sew our little half rectangle triangle unit together. And it goes just like this. We want opposites to be touching. So we'll fold that right sides together and stitch it here at the machine. Okay, now we can just give this a quick press and roll it back there. There is our cute little half rectangle triangle. And so those are the 3 blocks to make this whole quilt. I have absolutely loved sewing with this flannel, but let's go ahead and take a look at how this quilt goes together because it's much simpler than it looks. So the entire first row is made up of your pinwheel blocks. And so they just set in all the way across. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 across. So all pinwheels, first row. Then you have your little half rectangle triangles. Same thing, 8 across. Then you come in with that broken dishes next, like so, all the way across. And then the only real change is your half rectangle triangles flip. And you can keep track of that because you always want to make sure your background and your print are touching. And so as you put your rows together, that's really what you're looking for. And I loved this kind of kite shape that you got as an effect, and it goes both directions. So one more thing to point out, you have 1, 2, 3 rows of your pinwheels and only 2 of the broken dishes. So you need a little bit more pinwheels than those broken dish blocks, but it just comes together so cute. It's so cozy. We backed it with flannel as well. Absolutely love that cute little floral. And I just quilted it with loop-the-loop. I think it turned out great, so I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you next time on At Home. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching At Home. We're so excited to be almost 1 million quilters strong here at Missouri Star. And so if you haven't already joined our family, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of all of our future tutorials, and we'll see you soon.